the frequency of your words is just reaching so many people, and even though you might feel as though you're not being heard to the audience that you really want, the more that you are just sharing that material, it is being heard and witnessed now. And she wants you to keep going. She wants you to know that the more you have accepted yourself and loved who you are, regardless of the external influences in your life. You know, you've really had to shift out of that old state of consciousness of caring about what others think. That is serving so many people, you know, like in a religious sense or a cultural sense. The more that you can be you and true to you, then it gives permission for others to do that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Galactic Guidance. In this week's episode, we have a very special guest who will be talking about the roles of Lightworkers and how accessing their Akashic Records can assist their soul's mission. We have Daniella Birch, who has been working as a Master Akashic Record reader, business oracle, and galactic healer for 25 years. Her areas of expertise is all about assisting her clients to discover their life purpose and their global mission, and to assist business owners to tap into their innate intuitive gifts. Daniella is guided to support light workers and starseeds to remember their soul's calling. Welcome, Daniella.
Welcome. Hello, everyone.
I am so excited about having you in this week's episode because I know firsthand how amazing you are, because I have had an Akashic Record reading from you and it was truly phenomenal. And my antennas are really wide in terms of authenticity and those who say they do stuff but they don't really. And straight away and instantly I connected into your energy, which is just amazing. And everything you said resonated with my reading. And so I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about your background, how you are doing the things that you're doing in the world. And then if we could also have just a bit of a channeling experience, perhaps with the Akashic Records, if possible. So how does that sound?
Oh, I'm so excited. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, Daniella. So tell me, what did you always know that you had this special gift of being a psychic?
Well, I've got quite a diverse story, Eleni, because I'm actually a walk-in. So that's maybe a separate piece during this conversation. So what I remember about my childhood, so as a walk-in, I've only been in this specific body around 11, 12 years. I do have recollections of my childhood being highly sensitive, telepathic, reading energy, but not understanding what that actually meant. And it wasn't until I saw a psychic myself at about age 17 that she said, well, yeah, you've got these abilities and you can read minds. And I just thought that was normal.
Yeah. So before you continue, my understanding of a walk-in is that it's a soul that's decided to drop in at some point because the soul that's in the body has decided that they've had enough and they're going home. And so
Yes.
there's this exchange sort of passing on the baton that happens where the old soul sort of gives all the updates to the new soul and says, well, this is what happened in your childhood, you know, these are the memories that you need to have, and then all the memories are transferred to the new soul. Is that how a walk-in works?
You're very astute, my love. Yes. So I was hanging around the body for maybe 18 months, and I obviously took on the child of that soul. And I had to do a lot of clearing in that first maybe 4 years of being a walk-in and just clearing all of her traumas and memories. So I wasn't a part of that. So Yeah, I literally have no recollection of what happened for the first probably 35 years of my life.
So
Can't remember
how do
anything.
you know? How do you know that you were a walk-in? How do you know that?
I was like, I knew something had happened during the transfer. So a lot of walk-ins are unconscious when that happens. So usually there's some kind of accident that you might have heard of, and then they wake up and they don't remember anything. But for me, I was fully present during that experience. And so I sort of investigated, and it was maybe 3, 4 months later that, yeah, somebody came up to me and said, "You do know you're a walk-in." And I was like, thank you. And it just made so much sense to me why all these people left my life and I cut off my parents. And yeah, it was just like, now I understand.
Okay. So how common is this? My understanding is that it's actually very uncommon. It's not common. Walk-ins are not something that happen like to the majority of souls. This is not a common occurrence. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, I can only talk from my perspective. So the soul that was in my body had literally had enough. Like, she had had a lot of trauma. She wasn't able to process that trauma, and it just got too much for her. So she called me, in which, let's just say, I was the higher aspect of her. So I was still very much a part of her, and she does sort of come in and out of my field quite regularly, just to, she's still interested in the earthly life. But yeah, from her point of view, she just got to a point of not coping and just wanted out, basically. So that happens with a lot of the souls. They're very fractured, fragmented, and I chose her body because she'd already tapped into her psychic abilities, and so that was inbuilt in the system, I suppose you could say.
Okay. And then your family, did they feel like something was different with you coming into you coming into the body?
To be fair, Eleni, they already thought that. So I was always highly sensitive and intuitive and the black sheep and all those normal things that the star seeds are usually referred to, right? But yeah, they try to control me, and I saw a lot of their programming, and I just said, no, I don't want this in my life. This is not supporting me. And yeah, like, I haven't, I just don't speak to them at all. So
Okay. And how did you, is this something you've always known, that you're psychic? You've always known this?
if we're talking about me in the present moment, as in my soul, yes. So I would say I'm a very advanced soul. So I've always worked with the Akashic Records. I've always been on the Galactic. I'm a Galactic ambassador, and I come to Earth to, I'm really cool to do big work while I'm here. So like many star seeds, we were kind of told that we need to come here this lifetime because of the great awakening on the planet, right? So yes, I would say I always knew that I had higher sensory abilities for sure.
Okay. And it's fascinating because you always knew, whereas the rest of us, there was a time when we started to remember, and many of us on the planet still don't remember. And so how do you reconcile these two worlds, Daniella?
Well, the first thing is just honoring that when we first go through the gateway into the earth, we kind of handed over our sovereignty and our memories, right? So many humans aren't aware of that fact, that they basically said, okay, if I'm incarnating into this body, I'm not going to remember my psychic abilities, my power, the connection with God. I don't know if it's just because I'm a walk-in, but from the moment I came into the body, that was all still very present. My mission, what I'm here to do, it was kind of like, okay, let's get going,
Yes, of course. And you say you're a galactic ambassador. What does that actually mean?
So basically, we've got the sacred laws of the universe. And I have come through to really teach those sacred laws to people and just remind them that the earth laws aren't the true laws, like what the authorities say are the laws, whether you're looking at the current systems on the planet. So as an ambassador, I come here to, awaken people to looking at life a lot more differently and not buying into what we're being taught. So that means we're opening up, especially with the Akashic Records. Like, I've obviously done a lot of training before I came to Earth to bring through the frequency of truth. And I know you're all about truth, and so that's what a Galactic Ambassador represents to me. It's someone that's bringing through the new information, the new knowledge that humanity need to hear.
When I think about truth, and I think about like how often people lie without meaning to lie. So how do you handle the situation where you are in a situation where someone is saying, so, hi, Daniella, how are you? And you're actually not having a great day, but you don't really want to go down the road of actually explaining why you're not having a great day to this person. How do you handle that and still stay in your truth?
I feel, Eleni, it's just being really present with yourself, being present with what's coming up, being true to yourself. Like for me, authenticity is one of the core values that I have. So it's just being in truth with where you're at and what's going on at the time. And if something isn't relating to you, you don't have to keep interacting with that conversation as well. So that's what I'll probably do. Like if I'm just not in the right space to talk to that person about things, I'll just be really honest with them.
What will you say? Tell me. I'm interested.
I'm just, like for me, it's just being as authentic as I can. So if I'm just not interacting in that conversation, I'll just say, look, I'm sorry. I'll just leave that conversation or I'll just go. And it's about being true to you and where you're at that time and not people pleasing or feeling like you have to show up as a version of you that you're not being at that moment. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's just authentic.
Yeah, and it is just so interesting when you start observing yourself and the things that you say to people please, even the little things. But it is about being as truthful and honest as possible. Like I saw this episode recently, I don't know if you saw it on social media, where it wasn't an episode, it was a little meme where this weatherman, he was reporting on the snow, and he just had enough. And the lady from the studio said, so what do you see out there today? And he says, well, I see snow. Like, but why do I have to be out here to see snow? And he just cracked them. And he wasn't being funny. He just had this aha moment that he's had enough and he was speaking the truth. And I was thinking, wow, if all of us were always like that in our truth.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like we're taught, like we are programmed, as you know, like I see ourselves as computers that are all programmed. We get viruses, we get downloads like a computer, right? And it's just honoring that maybe we're sitting in an old state of consciousness that we don't actually need to be in either. And we don't need to justify that. And we can just be, like that guy, just really truthful. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not into this conversation. And it's not about the other person. It's about listening to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, when you said that, I got all goosebumps. But interestingly, before this, you were actually a makeup artist, which I didn't know. So tell us how you decided to do that when you always knew that you were gifted.
Well, again, this is really interesting because the walk-in was, before me, the old soul was highly creative. She was an artist as well. She was always interested in makeup. But when I came through, I didn't get that skill set. Like if I tried to do your makeup now, I would have no clue. I can have the memories of, being a makeup artist. But again, like when I came in as a walk-in, all of that was changed. So I don't have a driver's license because I couldn't remember how to drive a car. It's just crazy when you think about it. So I've absorbed some of those memories and skill sets as a human being, but there was many things that when she fully left the field, no, I couldn't do them at all.
Oh, how fascinating. And does that mean I'm just so fascinated with this whole walking concept. I'll just ask one last question before we move on, which is with regards to your family, does that mean that you really didn't feel that connection?
With none of them, none of the old friends. I think I cleared in the first month maybe 15 friends that I could see were using me and just taking advantage of the fact of my identity as a healer and psychic. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was just like I saw truth so clearly, and I saw how the parents were trying to control me, and that just didn't resonate in my frequency, and when we look upon it as frequency, like I came in with a higher state of consciousness than the parents who were very unconscious and asleep, and so I couldn't interact with that.
Okay. And so tell me about what are the roles of light workers on the planet at the moment? What is our role?
I like to see there's about 5 to 6 different categories. So we've got some light workers who are here to be healers. We have some light workers like yourself are very good at public speaking and educating and inspiring. We've got light workers that just the embodiment of their light really just helps shift the consciousness. So, yeah, we all play different roles for humanity to awaken. Some light workers can be there for the ancestral trauma, which I know you've talked about before, like the genetics and clearing the ancestor stuff. So, yeah, we all play these different roles in the community, which are just as important. Like obviously you can see in me, I've got more the seer energy, the psychic, but then I can come to a different country and I know I'm shifting the consciousness just with my light.
Just by being there, absolutely. So it's not about what we do, it's about who we are. So for the Akashic Records, do you say Akashic or Akashic? Because I've always said Akashic, but I heard you say Akashic.
It's probably just my energy. Yeah, look, it doesn't matter. My love.
It doesn't matter.
Akashic, yeah.
Yes. So from someone who really doesn't know anything about it, what they are, who created them, can you give us like a dummies version?
Sure. Simplified version is it's your own personal internet. So as you go on your internet, you look up information about certain things. See the Akashic Records in the same way. So you get to access certain files in that computer system about what you want to know about yourself. Because again, when we look at past lives aren't behind us. Our past life cells are running parallel in this current reality. So the Akashic Records offers you insight into anything you want to know about your patterns, why you've got certain people in your life, like what are you learning about yourself. That's what the Akashic Records offers you. Every thought, feeling, experience, event from your past life history. Usually it's on your earth life, but with me, I can look at your galactic origin and, other aspects of you as well, if that was something that people wanted to know.
And so I've heard that Archangel Metatron is the keeper of the Akashic Records, but who actually created them? Was this from source? Like where did it all start, the Akashic Records?
I just believe it's a consciousness, that's how I just see everything as frequency and consciousness. So see the Akashic Records as a consciousness of all your identities from all these other realities that still can sabotage and interfere with your current self. So can I share an example if that's okay?
Of course.
Just because sometimes people like to kind of like, okay, well, what does that mean? Yeah. So my last life, I was Catherine of Aragon, who was Henry VIII's first wife. So I was literally the Queen of England, right? And she hasn't wanted me to be seen. She hasn't wanted me to be visible. She doesn't even like me talking about her. And she has interfered with my work on so many different levels. And I was having a lot of heart issues. And I'm like, am I having a heart attack? And so I went into my Akashic Records and I discovered that Catherine, in her last life, had been poisoned and died of a heart attack. So when you have that knowledge of what's happened in your past lives, it makes sense, because you're like, these physical symptoms aren't making sense in the now, because none of my family died of heart attacks. So when you get to the core root of, well, why am I acting a certain way? It's that past life self that hasn't healed, hasn't had that opportunity to, just heal some of her trauma.
Well, that's fascinating. I didn't know that about you. But what I have heard is that Prince Harry was actually Henry VIII.
Well, it doesn't fully resonate with me. I'm pretty sure I know who it is, and it's not him. I was downloaded who was the other day, but I'm not going to say that person's name out loud, let's just say, but they're in a very important role.
Uh-huh. Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah, because I've always been like, I need to find Henry VIII, because Catherine's had a lot of vendetta about what happened to her at the end of her life. So, but no, I'm not getting a yes on that one.
Okay. So what about in terms of the purpose? So many light workers, I think most light workers are like, but what am I here for specifically? What am I here to do? How do the Akashic Records help with that?
So working with the Akashic Records, I can look at your soul's origin, your life lessons, what your gifts are. So it's really a beautiful tool to access, well, what am I good at, right? So sometimes we do come to Earth, and as you know, we might get swayed by parents saying, well, I want you to become a lawyer, and you don't get to utilize the true gifts that you have been mastering. And so accessing the Akashic Records, I get to beautifully execute that information for you. So you're like, okay, as you discovered with yourself, you're a truth seeker. Your voice is your frequency. And so the role that you're playing is absolutely perfect.
And so from a day-to-day perspective, Daniella, like your day-to-day, do you check in to your Akashic Records, or is this just something that you do for clients these days?
If there's something I'm struggling with, like if there's a pattern of behavior that I'm just not getting, then yes, I will access my records and say, well, where does this stem from? I'd like to get to the core root of that. I wouldn't say I access it that often though, because I try, because I'm so multidimensional and I can tap into so many different past life versions of me, it can get quite chaotic if there's too many in my field. So I try to be present just as Daniella most days.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so can you give us an example of a story, maybe perhaps with a client, you obviously don't need to name them, where there was a massive shift because of what they uncovered?
Oh, wow. I mean, I would say that's most sessions, really. Like, there's always some beautiful piece that comes through. The first thing that's coming to mind is, however, this beautiful couple that I helped get pregnant. So they were in their early 50s when they came to me, and they wanted to know why couldn't they fall pregnant. And we got to the root cause, and now they've got a beautiful baby, and they're, in their mid-50s. So that was just such amazing information, because she could see the trauma that her soul had gone through with loss of children. And so actually helping birth a child into the world, I'd say, was in my top 5.
Of course. How tangible is that? And so what was the root cause of them not being able to conceive?
Safety. So safety not around holding the baby, like not feeling she was capable of holding the baby at that age. And the thing is, when we go to the Egyptian timelines, that was when we were most fertile. So again, if there's someone listening that this supports and you're in your early 40s and you're struggling to have a child, that was like the normal timeline that we really do have children. It's not so much, in our early 20s. It's in our prime, in our 40s. So that's something that I really like to get people aware of.
Love
Yeah.
it. Okay, so how about you do some channeling? What could you do for us so that the people out there can experience like how it works?
Okay, well, do I have access to connect with you, Eleni?
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Okay, so we're just going to, so this is just how I work. So first of all, I always ask permission first to speak to your higher self or an aspect of you that wants to come through. And then when I call that version of you through, then we just have a little bit of a chat. So is that okay with you that I speak to this part of you and access your records, my love? Okay. So the first thing that's coming through is it's a very galactic part of you that's coming through, and she is just so excited to be educating humanity with all of this new information because she is here to serve on a high level. And she's just saying to me at the moment, sometimes you're still a little bit fearful of your own psychic abilities, to access those psychic abilities because of your past life history where you've been very judged. And especially in a cultural sense, like I've always seen a lot of Arabic or Muslim lives with you, Eleni. And so there's been a lot of silence, like that burqa kind of energy where I haven't been able to be in my truth and authenticity. And this galactic part of you is saying, and this is how you're helping heal that by speaking truth. And the frequency of your words is just reaching so many people. And even though you might feel as though you're not being heard to the audience that you really want, the more that you are just sharing that material, it is being heard and witnessed now. And she wants you to keep going. She wants you to know that the more you have accepted yourself and loved who you are, regardless of the external influences in your life. You've really had to shift out of that old state of consciousness of caring about what others think. That is serving so many people, like in a religious sense or a cultural sense. The more that you can be you and true to you, then it gives permission for others to do that. And that's what the Galactic wanted to say.
Wow. As soon as you started talking, I actually started to feel like an energy move through my body, like immediately, the moment that you started talking. And so when because you said that without even like stopping for breath, and I don't even think that you knew you were going to do that today. So do you see, like when you say my higher self, did you see her?
She is coming through with a very galactic energy. So it's like she's Arcturian. She's bald. She almost looks like she's got like a silver blue hue to her skin. It's not my full strength to see her, but I feel her frequency, and she's got like this, a lot of silver and violet energy around her. And she's also saying she's an ambassador as well. So she wants you to tap more into that part of yourself, of that knowledge and that wisdom, because you're stripping away the things that you thought were truth. You're starting to recognize, as you said before, like if someone is saying old information, it's not resonating within you, that's her. She's very astute and very good at reading if people are in their truth or just saying false information. So she wants you to tap into her more now.
Okay. So that galactic energy, how does she work together with, say, our human ancestors?
She doesn't really work with you for the ancestral work. This part of you is more here for your service work, for your global work. That would be another guide teacher that you connect with around that aspect, is what she's saying to me. She's more here to help you with your, like a galactic ambassador. So it's more for your mission work that you call on her.
I feel like, where I'm at the moment is probably where a lot of Lightworkers are at, which is that we do have a lot to share, but there seems to be a lot out there in terms of people saying what we would say. Quite often what happens, Daniella, is I'll have a meditation in the morning and then some things come through and I want to share them. And then by the time I go to share them, like 5 other people that are really well known have shared them. And it's like, well, it's already just been said, like, what's the point? And it's difficult to actually come in and keep sharing when you don't have a large audience for this type of work. What do you say about that?
My love, I don't either. I think sometimes I have 10 views, I just don't worry about that, because sometimes you're sitting in a different dimension, like you're sitting in a different frequency to humanity. So at one point your content will get out there to those people that aren't awakened, that will need you at that exact time. Right. So it's not personalizing it. And I love the fact that you are collectively feeling into the message that people need at that moment. Like the audience that need you will see you. Like that happens to me on TikTok. Like I can have hardly any views and I go, oh, that felt like a waste of time. And then higher self always reminds me, well, look at the people that suddenly like your video a year later. You're just in a different consciousness to where humanity are at. So the important thing is, from galactic perspective, you keep sharing.
I love that. And just so that people understand the process, what you actually do is actually a lot of preparation. So in this instant, you just tapped right into me. But usually if somebody books a session with you, what preparation do you do for that session?
So my preference is to have it all channeled in advance, so that way the content is very pure. Sometimes when I'm with a person, in front of you now, sometimes there's a lot of distortions in the energy field. There's energies that may not want me to bring through this information, if that makes sense, because most of my clients are here to do big things. And so it's best that I have that all written down without any distractions. So then we go through the content, as you know, on a Zoom call. And I just find that easier for me, energetically speaking, as well. Yeah.
And what I love about your sessions is that you do give, a copy of the recording, but you also give a transcript. And it just so happened that I reread my transcript yesterday, and I think we did it like a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago. And it's important to reread it, I feel. Like, it's like sometimes something lands, 18 months down the track as opposed to the next day after the reading. And it is really beautifully written, and there's a lot of resonance with your work, Daniella. So if you had a message to give Lightworkers today, people who they know they're here for something bigger than they're currently doing, but they're full of doubt, they're full of insecurities, they don't quite know what the next thing is, what would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, I'd love to take them through my introduction course, which is only, 111 Australian dollars for 4 hours. Such amazing information to help you remember your calling and help you understand who you are on the soul level. When we're very caught up in our 3D self and we're in this matrix, it is confusing, because there's constant messaging coming through our aura to stay in these programs of self-doubt. So it's being aware that they are just frequencies and programs deliberately to take us off track, to disconnect us from God's source. So yeah, like I think it's really beautiful that I offer this session for people, and straight away, like, they're tapped into their spirit guides and their abilities, like, straight away. So it's not as though they have to spend a fortune on remembering themselves. So that's why I offer it at such a low cost, because for me it's just activating these light workers and star seeds to have that memory so they're not getting lost in the systems.
Beautiful. So we'll put that link down below in terms of that particular introductory course. Is there any final words from you, my love?
I just want, like you, I just want people to remember their power and they're not who they think they are. And the more you realize that you're very programmed to be this version that you think you are, you know, you and I are here to help them to remember that they can tap into, you know, another aspect of their brain, their creativity, their sensory abilities. And once you do, like once you realize that you're not just this logical version of self, that you are this pure spirit. Like I'm really here just to show people the purity of their spirit, because they're so, they've been so damaged, the light workers.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
like, and you're very incarnated in these families that deliberately try to destroy your light, your life force. So the more people that can see themselves clearly, the better. So I love your work too, beautiful, and what you're doing out there.
When you talk about programming, Daniella, it's like I feel like I didn't really understand that until I had plant medicine, because then I was shown like every, you know, all the beliefs, and then the beliefs underneath those beliefs, and the beliefs underneath those beliefs, and the beliefs under those beliefs. So when you say, you know, you've been programmed, a lot of people may be thinking, well, no, I haven't. Yes, you have. Like every single thing that you think about is a program. Like even the most basic things, like why must we wear clothes? You know, every single thing is a agreement at a collective level that this means this is bad behavior and this is good behavior. You're good if you do this and you're bad if you do that. Every time you think something is good or something is bad, it's a program.
100% beautiful. And if I can extend on that a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
One of the things that I've recently really witnessed in people, and it's really difficult for people to comprehend if they don't understand that they're programmed, is that we've also got implants and holographic inserts in our aura, which does even more damage. So some of these implants that I extract from people, I call them dark seals. They are designed to activate our nervous system into fear and trauma responses. Like these energies that have been ruling the planet know exactly how to target the light workers. And so when you're just about to up level or ascend, something inside of you says, this is dangerous. I can't be me. It's not safe to tap into my psychic abilities. They are imprinted in the field, and I start to remove them and people are like, wow, I feel like me again.
So these implants, what kind of energies put them there?
The dark entities that have been ruling this planet since Atlantis. We've had these implants in our field a long time. We have tracking devices on us. I'm constantly removing tracking devices because they follow me everywhere. They want to know what I'm doing. They want to know who I'm helping. And yeah, so the more that I can remove these dark seals, and they're usually found in the heart chakra as well, because as you know, like the heart chakra is, it's our whole life force. So yeah, once I start to remove them, then people are like, whoa, they start to awaken quite quickly.
So what can people do to remove, what can people do on their own to protect themselves from these?
Call in the highest available version of the seraphim angels and your own God source. So every morning without fail, I speak to my oversoul that oversees all stations of identity. I call in the mighty seraphim, and there's a spiritual vacuum that you can call in and start to remove those implants out of your energy field. That's the easiest way.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so much information, so much knowledge, so much guidance. And I want to say, Daniella, you are such a beautiful, beautiful, bright light that you're shining in the world, and you really are helping light workers, because this is a collective thing that we have to do. It's not a by yourself thing. And thank you for all that you are. Every time I see you online, it's just like, oh, I love her. She's beautiful. I
Oh,
can just feel your
beautiful.
beautiful energy and your down to earth practical wisdom is really, really appreciated. So thank you, Daniella, for being beautifully and uniquely you.
Oh, well, right back at you, sister. So much love and grace to you and what you're doing as well.
And if people want to connect in with you, we will have links below, but what's the easiest way?
Yeah, probably my link tree or just my email. Yeah, because I'm always changing phone numbers.
Yeah. The link tree on Instagram always keeps
Yes.
things up to date.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and that's got
No
all my
worries.
courses and everything on there as well. So, yeah, however they wish to connect would be awesome.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, my love. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, beautiful. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.